Well, the leaves are turning, the sweaters are out, and pumpkin spice is abundant. Many love the change of season, but it's much more than a cozy fall vibe. Neuroscientist and best-selling author Sarah Baldeo is here to explain why our brains love the fall and why this season might be best for changes. Sarah, this is a fascinating discussion. You said before that our brains don't really run on a January to December calendar. What do you mean by that?
So I know everyone is ready for pumpkin spice season, right? We've all been to our Starbucks, but what's interesting is that a lot of people don't know that January to December as a calendar didn't always exist. In fact, it's really new to humans, and it's called the Gregorian calendar. It didn't start until the 1500s. So, in Roman times, the calendar started in March and it only lasted 10 months, as an example. So when people say, January is the beginning of the year, that's actually not what our brain is reacting to neurologically. It doesn't represent the reality of how your brain evolved. Fall is wired into us as a natural reset. So long before Google calendars and planners and New Year's countdowns, we lived by the seasons, and the harvest was the time for us to evaluate, to let go of what we didn't need, to plan for what was coming next. And that's why your brain reacts to fall this way. September often feels like this fresh start, even for, people who are not experiencing back to school.
Okay, so that I've often associated that feeling to sort of the beginning of school coming up in the fall, but this makes a lot more sense too. What's going on inside the brain at this time of the year?
So, in North America, at least, we're getting that cooler air, that shift in temperatures. The shorter days are activating our metabolism, our nervous system. And the brain, when it starts to see these environmental changes, it really gets primed for planning and that harvest and that collecting, and kind of what we used to really focus on in agricultural times was this farming. So fall in your brain, it invites things like reflection, transformation, and even forming habits. So the same way the trees are letting go of their leaves, people are letting go of the habits that no longer benefit them. So here's the biohack from a neuroscientist. When you align your habits and new habits that you want with these seasonal and environmental cues, you increase the probability of them being successful and your brain encoding them. And that's why these New Year's resolutions, they have an 80% failure rate. The ones in fall are much more likely to stick because your brain existed long before this current calendar that we see.
Fascinating stuff. Now, we mentioned the pumpkin spice and cinnamon. Certainly people fall in love with the scent of the season. Why does that trigger us so strongly?
This is fascinating, Kent. Smell is the only sense of all of our senses that has a direct line into what's called your limbic system, your fight or flight response system. That's your brain's emotional and memory processing supercenter. Now, that smelling center, it's called your olfactory bulb, it collects right into your memory center and your emotion center. What does that mean? When you smell these wonderful scents of pumpkin spice lattes, it actually bypasses logic and it triggers these instant associations. That's why when you smell cinnamon or roasting turkey, it transfers you back to your grandmother's kitchen or Thanksgiving. These are not just cozy cliches. It's actually neural cues. So when you pair smells with trying to build new habits, you're going to strengthen memory. And yes, I suggest people light that pumpkin spice latte candle or any of those fall smells when you are trying to build a new habit. It's not just about atmosphere and ambiance. It is scientific activation of your brain.
That is fascinating stuff, Sarah. As always, it's been a fascinating and interesting conversation. Looking forward to more. You can find Sarah's book, 100 Ways to Future-Proof Your Brain, at Indigo Books, and you can connect with her at sarahbaldeo.com.